Did you know that your subconscious might be blocking the love you deserve? That's right. Often it's our unconscious beliefs that prevent us from living the relationship of our dreams. Want to find out how to break through these barriers and attract true love? Stay with me until the end, and let's explore together how to transform your love life. Don't let your subconscious control your destiny. The love you deserve is within reach, and it all starts from within you. Often, we wonder why we attract the wrong types of people or why the same patterns keep repeating in our relationships. According to Jung, the answer lies in the unconscious. He said that until we bring the unconscious to consciousness, it will simply guide our lives. This means that the patterns we follow, the choices we make, and even the feelings we experience are not always rational. Many of these behaviors stem from deeply rooted beliefs in our unconscious, created over time, often without us even realizing it. This phenomenon explains how, without realizing it, we attract partners who reflect unresolved emotional issues in our psyche, as if the unconscious is trying to bring to the surface what needs healing. Imagine, for example, that you grew up in an environment where love was conditional. This could have created an unconscious pattern in you, where you only feel worthy of love when you meet certain expectations or behave in a certain way. Then, you attract relationships where love is also conditional, because your unconscious seeks this type of relationship in an attempt to resolve this internal conflict. When this pattern repeats, the person might wonder why they're always with someone who doesn't fully appreciate them, without realizing that it's they themselves who are allowing this pattern to continue. It's important to understand that it's not just a matter of choosing poorly. The unconscious plays a powerful role in guiding us toward relationships that often reflect the issues that need to be healed. So, how can we start changing this? The first step is to bring these patterns to the surface, to begin observing how these unconscious patterns influence the choices we make in our relationships. By becoming aware of these patterns, a person can start making healthier decisions and eventually attract more balanced and authentic relationships. When we relate to others, we often project our own insecurities, fears, and desires onto the people around us. Psychological projection is when we attribute characteristics or emotions to someone that belong to us. This happens because we're often not willing to face these aspects within ourselves. In love, for example, we project what we wish the other person would be, rather than who they really are. This creates an illusion, a distorted image of the person, which can lead to frustrations and misunderstandings. It's not uncommon for us to become disappointed since the person we're with isn't actually the one we idealized. This phenomenon is especially evident in romantic relationships where expectations often exceed reality. Have you ever noticed that sometimes you expect your partner to guess what you need without saying a word? That's a projection. You might expect them to behave in a way that satisfies your emotional needs without them even knowing what's happening. This isn't their fault, but a way of projecting your own needs and expectations onto them. The problem is that by projecting these expectations, true connection doesn't happen. Real love only establishes itself when we relate to the person as they truly are, not as we wish them to be. The first step to breaking these patterns is recognizing our projections. This involves deep self-awareness, being willing to face our own shadows and limitations. For example, when you notice you're projecting something onto your partner, ask yourself, what does this say about me? What are my unmet needs or aspects of myself that I haven't accepted yet? By bringing these questions to consciousness, you can start establishing more authentic and healthy relationships without illusions or distortions. Archetypes are universal patterns present in the human psyche that shape how we relate to others. These archetypes, identified by Jung, profoundly influence our behaviors and interactions. The lover archetype, for instance, is related to our ability to love and be loved, while the anima and animus represent the feminine and masculine energies within us. When these archetypes are in balance, Our relationships tend to be harmonious and authentic. But when they're imbalanced, we can attract unbalanced relationships that reflect this internal lack of harmony. If, for example, a person is disconnected from their own feminine energy, anima, they might have difficulty establishing a deep emotional connection with others. This can result in superficial relationships or even difficulty expressing vulnerability. On the other hand, if someone distances themselves from their masculine energy, animus, they might struggle to assert their needs and desires clearly. This internal imbalance can lead to relationships where these aspects are not welcomed or even recognized. This isn't the partner's fault, but a reflection of what's lacking within oneself. Working with archetypes is a process of self-awareness and integration, seeking to bring these energies to the surface and balance them. For example, you can practice reflection exercises or meditation to explore these archetypes within yourself. By balancing these internal aspects, your way of relating to others will naturally change, promoting more balanced and harmonious relationships. When you begin to see how these archetypes influence your choices, you can make more conscious decisions about what you want in your relationships and how you want to relate to others. The shadow, as Jung described it, is that hidden part of our personality that tends to be repressed, meaning the aspects of ourselves that we don't accept or prefer to ignore. This includes our fears, insecurities, and even those desires and impulses we judge as wrong or inappropriate. However, the shadow doesn't disappear just because we ignore it. It continues to exert its influence, especially in our relationships. Often when we reject a part of ourselves, we attract people or situations that reflect exactly what we're trying to hide from ourselves. This happens because unresolved energy within us finds a way to manifest. For example, a person who constantly rejects their anger might end up with someone who provokes them, causing them to express anger they didn't even know they had. This kind of dynamic doesn't happen by chance. It's a reflection of something unresolved, something that's in the shadow. When we don't deal with these aspects, we end up repeating the same patterns until we become aware of them. In a relationship, this can result in constant fights, frustrations, or even attraction to partners who represent these negative or repressed aspects. The real work here is integrating the shadow, meaning accepting that we all have parts of ourselves that we don't like, but that are part of who we are. To start this process, a good practice is self-observation and reflection. For example, whenever you feel uncomfortable or frustrated with someone's behavior, ask yourself, what does this say about me? It might be a good opportunity to explore what's in your shadow and start working to integrate these aspects. By doing so, your ability to establish deeper and more authentic connections will increase, creating healthier and more satisfying relationships. Childhood is a crucial period in forming our unconscious, and many of the emotional wounds we carry throughout life have roots in this phase. Jung used to say that the child within us is immortal, and this directly reflects our relationship patterns. When we're young, we absorb messages from our environment, mainly from our caregivers, which shape how we see love and how we believe we should be loved. If, for example, a child grows up in an environment where love is conditional, where affection is only given when certain expectations are met, they might unconsciously seek partners who reinforce this dynamic in adulthood, creating a cycle of seeking validation. Imagine then that someone grew up in a home where love depended on specific behaviors or achievements, like good grades or accomplishments. In adulthood, this person might find themselves attracted to partners who love them conditionally, offering love only when they meet certain expectations. This can manifest in relationships where the person feels they need to earn love, always putting their needs aside to please the other, never feeling fully accepted. This kind of dynamics is a reflection of an unhealed childhood wound. To start working on these wounds, the first step is becoming aware of them. This can be done through therapy, journaling, or meditation, helping the person understand how past experiences are influencing their current behavior. By bringing these wounds to light, it's possible to begin healing them, changing how we see ourselves and how we relate to others. Instead of seeking conditional love, we can start cultivating unconditional love, which leads to a profound transformation not only in our relationships, but also in our understanding of what true love is. The relationship we have with our parents or with parental figures in our lives has a profound impact on how we relate in the realm of love. The maternal complex and the paternal complex, concepts studied by Jung, describe how experiences with the mother and father form unconscious models that shape our choices and behaviors in romantic relationships. If, for example, a person had a relationship of excessive dependence on the mother or father, they might seek a partner who represents this dynamic, either looking for a maternal or paternal figure to care for them or, on the contrary, avoiding this type of relationship, creating a pattern of rejection of the parental figure. This pattern can emerge subtly but ends up influencing the choices we make in the emotional realm. Think about how someone who had an overprotective mother might feel drawn to partners who have a tendency to overcare for them. On the other hand, a person who experienced emotional abandonment by the father might unconsciously seek relationships where they feel they can't fully trust the partner, creating a cycle of rejection and distrust. These patterns often repeat unconsciously, and the hardest part is realizing that we're repeating family models that are no longer healthy or suitable for our reality. The key to transforming these patterns lies in self-awareness and the courage to reevaluate these models, starting to notice when we're attracting people who reflect these dynamics and questioning the reasons behind these choices is a big step toward healing. As we understand these parental influences in our lives, we can stop repeating the same mistakes and start choosing more authentic and balanced relationships. True love begins when we manage to free ourselves from the unconscious projections that our family history imposed. The search for a soulmate is a concept often present in popular culture, but according to Jung, this search can be more of a projection than a reality. The myth of the soulmate, that romantic ideal of finding someone who completes our essence, can often distance us from a deeper understanding of what love truly means. Jung emphasized that true love begins with individuation, which is the process of becoming a complete being by oneself, integrating all parts of our psyche and accepting the totality of our being. This means that before looking for someone who completes us, it's necessary to first learn to become whole, to deeply know ourselves, and cultivate a healthy relationship with ourselves. Imagine how someone's life would be if they spent their entire existence searching for a soulmate, waiting for another being to make them feel complete. They might end up frustrated because this idea of completeness never materializes. The process of individuation teaches us that true completeness is within ourselves, and only when we become integral beings can we attract relationships that truly have to do with our true essence. When we're at peace with who we are, without needing another person to validate our existence, that's when true love can emerge. It's at this moment that the relationship becomes not a search for completeness, but a healthy exchange between two whole people. Therefore, instead of waiting for someone who will save us, the work of individuation invites us to cultivate a full and independent life. When we achieve this fullness, attraction to authentic and balanced relationships becomes natural. And unlike the myth of the soulmate, we discover that by becoming whole, we attract people who are equally seeking their own process of self-discovery and evolution. The law of attraction has been widely discussed, but people often don't fully grasp how it operates within the unconscious mind. The basic idea is that we attract what we are vibrating, meaning whatever is in our thoughts and energy field, even if we're not consciously aware of it. The issue is that our unconscious holds deep-seated beliefs, many of which are limiting, shaped by life experiences, past traumas, and of course, family patterns. If, for example, someone believes they don't deserve true love or that they will always be rejected, this belief will be reflected in their choices and the relationships they attract, often creating cycles of disappointment and pain. Imagine someone who, since childhood, has learned that love is hard to attain or that they only deserve complicated relationships. Even if they consciously desire a healthy love, the energy they send out into the world will reflect those limiting beliefs, attracting exactly what they fear: superficial, unstable, and unfulfilling connections. The key here is that by changing our internal beliefs, we can literally transform the way we engage with the world. Working on our emotional vibration, learning to value ourselves, and building confidence in our ability to love allows us to attract exactly the kind of relationship we truly want. Transforming your inner world is, therefore, the key to unlocking the attraction of more balanced and fulfilling relationships. This starts with a conscious process of self-examination, where you begin identifying the beliefs that are holding you back from attracting the love you truly deserve. As you shift those beliefs and connect with a state of self-worth and confidence, you naturally start attracting partners who are on the same wavelength. Through this process, the law of attraction stops being a mystical concept and becomes a real, tangible practice, rooted in your choices and inner transformations. The fear of intimacy is a subtle yet powerful barrier that can make it difficult to build a healthy relationship. Many people, afraid of opening up emotionally, end up pulling away before even giving someone a chance to get close. This fear is often rooted in past experiences of abandonment or rejection and runs so deep that we don't even realize we're sabotaging ourselves. Self-abandonment, where a person disconnects from their own emotional needs and true self, is an unconscious defense mechanism against vulnerability. When we fear opening up completely, it's as if we build a wall between ourselves and others, keeping real connection at arm's length. For instance, someone who has experienced traumatic abandonment may unconsciously create distancing patterns in their relationships, even if they deeply long for connection. The moment they sense they might be abandoned, they may start withdrawing, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy. This behavior often shows up as emotional self-abandonment, where a person prioritizes others while neglecting their own needs to avoid confronting the pain of being left behind. Over time, this can lead to a series of superficial relationships where the fear of intimacy takes control. Healing this fear begins with recognizing these patterns and working toward building a healthy relationship with yourself. When we learn to fully accept, value, and nurture our own emotional needs, intimacy starts to feel less threatening. After all, true intimacy begins the moment we allow ourselves to be vulnerable and authentic with ourselves first, making it easier for others to open up without fear of judgment. This is a crucial step in breaking the cycle of self-abandonment and allowing real love to take root. Self-esteem is the foundation of any healthy relationship. When someone values themselves, they naturally set a standard where they won't accept less than they deserve, whether in friendships or romantic relationships. True self-esteem doesn't come from external praise or validation, but from a deep connection with oneself. The more aligned someone is with their true essence, the more capable they become of forming authentic connections with others. Building self-esteem is an ongoing journey of self-awareness where a person acknowledges their strengths, qualities, and even vulnerabilities, without judgment or self-criticism. People with low self-esteem often settle for relationships that don't truly fulfill them, or worse, that are harmful. They may stay in toxic dynamics because, deep down, they believe they don't deserve anything better. But when self-esteem is strengthened, a person begins making more conscious choices, creating space to attract relationships that align with their true essence. It's like learning to treat yourself with kindness and respect. Once you stop being overly self-critical, you naturally start attracting others who share that same healthy perspective. One of the most powerful ways to boost self-esteem is by practicing self-care. not just in a superficial sense, but on a deep level. A person who truly takes care of themselves learns to set healthy boundaries, say no when necessary, and make choices that genuinely align with their desires and values. This is the first step toward building authentic relationships, because only those who truly value themselves can recognize the worth of others and cultivate mutual respect. When self-esteem is strong, relationships naturally reflect that inner harmony. Becoming conscious in relationships, it's a continuous journey of self-observation and self-discovery. As we grow more aware, we start recognizing the patterns we keep repeating, often without realizing they no longer serve our well-being. This awakening happens when we stop operating on autopilot, guided by unconscious habits, and instead begin to observe our reactions, thoughts, and emotions. By questioning our beliefs, especially those that shape how we relate to others, we gain the power to make more intentional choices. In turn, this gives us greater control over how we connect with people, allowing for deeper, more meaningful relationships. A practical example of this is when someone notices that they always choose the same type of partners, people who mirror dynamics they experienced in childhood. By becoming aware of this pattern, they can start questioning why they keep making these choices. They might uncover deeply ingrained beliefs, like, "I don't deserve to be loved for who I am." Recognizing this belief is the first step toward change. This kind of self-reflection is only possible when we're willing to look inward, confront our shadows, and understand the reasons behind our decisions. Therapy, journaling, and even mindfulness practices like meditation can be powerful tools in this process. Practicing awareness also means creating space for vulnerability. It requires being honest with ourselves and others instead of hiding our fears and insecurities. This honesty lays the foundation for deeper relationships, fostering an environment where people can express themselves without fear of judgment. By embracing this process, we start breaking down the walls that keep us from true intimacy. Ultimately, this shift helps us move beyond reactive patterns and into a more authentic and fulfilling way of living, where relationships are built on genuine connection rather than unconscious conditioning. Many people spend their whole lives searching for love, believing that it comes from the outside, that someone else must fill the emptiness they feel. However, true love begins with inner transformation. When someone becomes aware of their own value, works through their inner wounds, and frees themselves from limiting beliefs, they begin to reflect a deep self-love. This internal love is the key to attracting healthy and balanced relationships. As they transform, the individual begins to align with what is best for them, and this is reflected in the people and situations they attract into their life. Imagine that you always believed love was something that could only be found in another person. But over time, you begin to realize that love was already inside you, waiting to be recognized. This transformation happens when you take responsibility for your own feelings and desires, stopping the search for validation outside of yourself, as you already possess it internally. When you start giving yourself the love you deserve, the world around you begins to reflect that, bringing into your life people who have the same level of self-love and respect. Inner transformation also involves releasing old and limiting beliefs about love. Often we carry unconscious family, social, and cultural patterns that tell us how love should be. But these patterns are not always healthy. By working on inner transformation, you begin to reprogram your mind, changing the way you view love and relationships. As a result, your emotional vibration shifts, and like a magnet, you begin to attract exactly the kind of relationship that aligns with your new self-vision. The love you seek is, in fact, within you all along. You just have to allow yourself to find it. Now that you understand how your subconscious might be blocking the love you deserve, it's time to apply this knowledge and transform your life. Ask yourself, what do I truly believe about love? Am I ready to change? The key to transformation is in your hands. When you start working on your inner self, You free yourself to create healthier and more authentic relationships. Don't be afraid to face what's inside you, because only then will you be able to attract the love that is meant for you. If you feel inspired, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to keep learning about the power of your subconscious and how it can transform every aspect of your life. And to continue your journey, don't miss our video on how to unlock your inner potential. The link is in the description and on the card. Let's walk this path of growth and self-discovery together.